हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी, दंडवत प्रणाम। प्रभु जी,
हरे कृष्णा माता जी, दंडवत प्रणाम।
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी।
लक्ष्मी माता जी,
ఏంటో ఈరోజు ఎవరు జాయిన్ అవ్వాలి ప్రభుజీ?
యాక్చువల్గా లలిత్ మోహన్ ప్రభు జాయిన్ కాడు నెక్స్ట్ 3 days. వాళ్ళ సిస్టర్, వాళ్ళ వైఫ్, వాళ్ళ సిస్టర్ పాస్డ్ అవే.
ఓ అయ్యయ్యో.
He won't be able to join for next 3 days. He mentioned he
ఓహ్.
one-to-one message. Other devotees, yesterday was Rath Yatra festival.
యా ఎస్ ప్రభుజీ.
Maybe some devotees didn't join. But anyway, whether one person, no problem. We'll continue. During the call, some devotees will be joined. We'll continue. Just
ఎస్ ప్రభుజీ.
on laptop. Hare Krishna.
Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. So where are we, Mataji? I couldn't follow recording also. So last Friday, where are we? Lakshmi Mataji, Vani Mataji.
ప్రభుజీ ఒకసారి ప్రభుజీ.
నేను గ్రూప్ లో కూడా మెసేజ్ పెట్టండి కదా, లెట్ మీ చెక్.
యా యా సిసి మధ్యలీల చాప్టర్ 16 కంప్లీట్ అయిపోయింది. ఆ రుద్రగీత ప్రేయర్స్ ఏదైతే డివోటీస్ రిసైట్ చేయలేదో వాళ్ళు రిసైట్ చేశారు కొన్ని. భక్తి శాస్త్రిలోని శ్లోకాస్ 15.15 ఒకటి అయింది. సో ఈ రోజు ఏంటి మధ్యలీల చేస్తామా, సిసి చేస్తామా ప్రభుజీ, లేకపోతే భాగవతమా?
చూస్తున్నాం ఒక్క నిమిషం. యా కరెక్ట్.
हरे कृष्णा।
या मुरलीधर प्रभु, हरे कृष्णा दीपा माताजी, दंडवत प्रणाम.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी, दंडवत प्रणाम.
So chapter 16 done. The Prabhupada Lilamrita will read. So let me share.
प्रभु जी मेंबर सेक्शन 15th అధ్యాయం ఒకసారి పారాయణ చేయనా?
అర్థం కాల ఏంటిది? సో
మెంబర్స్ ఇంకా రాలే కదా, 4 మెంబర్స్ ఏమో వచ్చారు అంతే, 5 మెంబర్స్. ఒక 5 minutes లో ఇది అయిపోతుంది కదా అధ్యాయం, 15th అధ్యాయము పారాయణం చేయనా?
ఇప్పుడు యాక్చువల్ గా టైం కూడా నాది కూడా చూసుకుంటాను ప్రభుజీ. విల్ ప్లాన్ ఫర్ యూ, ఐ లెట్ యూ నో ఏం చేద్దాం అనేది. ఓకే, ఐఎమ్ స్టార్టింగ్ నౌ. శిల ప్రభుపాద లీలామృత విల్ రీడ్. ఓకే, యా థ్యాంక్ యూ ఫర్ ఇంట్రెస్ట్ ఇన్ రీడింగ్, బట్ విల్ ప్లాన్. అట్లా అది కూడా చేయొచ్చు.
ఓకే ఓకే ప్రభు.
యాక్చువల్ గా for all of you. Actually, there is a beautiful program created by Vaisheshika Maharaj, okay, in ISKCON Silicon Valley. All the IT professionals and top intellectuals, they resides in that particular location. It's called Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley. So that Prabhuji Vaisheshika Prabhu. So I was also part of it few years back, more than 5 to 6 years back.
Okay, Hari Bol.
Chapter a day. There is a program called Bhagavad Gita Chapter a day. 1
Chapter
month
8, okay.
chapter a day. Every Ekadashi they change, I think.
Hmm.
Chapter a day, all the verses and slokas, translation. Sometimes translation, sometimes sloka. So that particular 15 days or 1 month, I think. Same chapter only. Until it gets for
By
those
hearted.
30 days or 15 days అట్లా అది ఉంది. అది we will slowly implement later. చూద్దాం. అది ఒక
Okay.
5 minutes. భగవద్గీత మనం ఆల్రెడీ ఈ గ్రూప్ లో ఆల్రెడీ చదివి బారోలైంది. అక్కడక్కడ వర్సెస్ ప్రభుపద పర్పోర్షల్ చదివి చేస్తున్నాం కానీ మేబీ స్పెండ్ ఎవ్రీ డే 5-10 minutes అట్లా విల్ ప్లాన్. ఓకే ప్రభు, అప్పుడు మీరు చేద్దురులేండి. ఓకేనా?
నాకు అన్నీ ఏం రావు, ఏమంటే కొన్ని అనమాట అంతే. ఎందుకంటే మెంబర్స్ రాలేదని చెప్పాను అంతే.
ఎస్
నాకు 12, 15, 16 తప్ప ఇంకా పట్టు రాలేదు వేరే దాని మీద.
అట్లా వేయచ్చు. ఎట్లా అంటే మొత్తం శ్లోకాలు చదువుకుంటే ఎంత 5 to 8 minutes లో అయిపోతుంది ఒక చాప్టర్.
చిన్న 20 శ్లోకాస్ ఉండేటి ఒక 6 minutes లో అయిపోతుంది. 6-7 minutes.
15 chapter, some 20 శ్లోకాలు, 12 chapters, కొన్ని చిన్న శ్లోకాస్ అవి ఉన్నాయి. విల్ డూ. యా, సో ఐఎమ్ షేరింగ్ మై స్క్రీన్ నౌ. Before that, let me quickly do Mangalacharana. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. मम ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. नमः ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिने नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वतीदेवे गौरवाणि प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद. हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. मुखं करोति वाचालं पंगुलं गायते गिरिं कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं परमानंद माधवं श्रीचैतन्यमीश्वरम्. ओम अपवित्र पवित्रो वा सर्वावसंगतोऽपि वा यस्मरेत् पुण्डरीकाक्षं सभाभ्याम्यन्तरं शुचिः. श्री विष्णु श्री विष्णु श्री विष्णु. ओम तद्विष्णु परमं पदं सदा पश्यन्ति सूरयो दिव्या चक्षुराततं सद्विप्रासो विपन्यवो जागृहंस समिन्दते विष्णुं यत् परमं पदं. हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. Last time we have read this one, na? Stay high forever. Stay high forever. Chapter 20 we have completed, I think. So now we'll continue chapter 21, beyond the lower east side. So we'll start. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Guru Deva, Srila Guru Deva. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Gurudeva ki jai. So let me read. Chapter 21 talks about beyond the lower east side. Beyond the lower east side. But we were shocked that he was going to. అది నాకే రీసౌండ్ వస్తుంది. ఓకే, ప్లీజ్ మ్యూట్ డివోటీస్ ఎవర్ నాట్ రీడింగ్. సో యా, బట్ we were shocked that he was going to live. నాకు ఇంకొక డౌట్. సో లెట్ మీ చెక్ వన్ మోర్ టైం. 20 chapter 20, stay high forever. Yeah, that's we have done. Okay, stay high forever. And now then beyond the lower east side we are reading now. But we were shocked that he was going to leave. I never thought that Krishna consciousness would go beyond the lower east side. What to speak of New York City? I thought that this was it, and it would stay here eternally. Brahmananda. Hare Krishna was becoming popular. Regular kirtanas in the park, newspaper coverage. Hayagriva called it the Hare Krishna explosion. The Lower East Side hippies considered the chanting of Hare Krishna one of the grooviest things happening, and that the Swami's disciples didn't take LSD, didn't seem to affect their popularity. The devotees were accepted as angelic people, carrying the peaceful chanting to others and offering free food and free place to stay. You could get the most interesting vegetarian food free at their place if you went at the right time. And in their storefront, on the shelf by the door, were books from India. In the clubs, local musicians played the melody that they had picked up from the Swami when he chanted in the park and at the temple. The Lower East Side was a neighborhood of artists and musicians, and now it was also the neighborhood of Hare Krishna. Burton Green, musicians were influenced by it, the Krishna chant, Govinda Jaya Jaya, and other chants. I used some of those chants when I recorded. A lot of musicians reached out for this in different ways. Uh, we would explode in a short time and blow off, but then keep the chant underneath as a basis. A lot of people found that spiritual vibration even in the midst of the heavy music they were doing. They were becoming devotee musicians. Evening kirtanas were always big. Brahmananda used to stand by the back door every night and watch the room fill up until there was no place left to sit. There was a lot of interest in the group chanting and music making. But after the kirtana, when the talk was begin, people would start to leave. It was not uncommon for half of the audience to leave before the talk began. And sometimes people would leave in the middle of the lecture. One evening, Allen Ginsberg brought Ed Sanders and Tully Kupferberg of the Fugs to the meeting. The Fugs, a local group that had made a name for themselves, specialized in obscene lyrics. Among the popular songs of Ed Sanders were Slum Goddess of the Lower East Side, Group Grope, and I Can't Get High. Ed had wild red hair and an electric red beard, and he played a guitar during the kirtana. The devotees were happy to see their prestigious guests. The night of the Fugs, however, Prabhupada chose to speak on the illusion of sexual pleasure. Sex pleasure binds us to this material world, birth after birth, he said, and he quoted, as he often did, a verse of Yamunacharya. Since I have become Krishna conscious, whenever I think of sex life with a woman, my face at once turns from it, and I spit at the thought. The fugs never returned. To speak ill of sexual pleasure was certainly not a strategic move for one who wanted to create followers among the Lower East Side hippies. But Prabhupada never considered changing his message. In fact, when Umapati had mentioned that Americans didn't like to hear that sex was only for conceiving children, Prabhupada had replied, I cannot change the philosophy to please the Americans. What about sex? Asked the ISKCON attorney. Steve Goldsmith one evening, speaking out from the rear of the crowded temple. Sex should only be with one's wife, Prabhupada said, and that is also restricted. Sex is for the propagation of Krishna conscious children. My spiritual master used to say that to beget Krishna conscious children, he was prepared to have sex 100 times. Of course, that is most difficult in this age. Therefore, he remained a brahmachari. But sex is a very strong force. Mr. Goldsmith challenged. What a man feels for a woman is undeniable. Therefore, in every culture, there is the institution of marriage. Prabhupada replied, you can get yourself married and live peacefully with one woman, but the wife should not be used as a machine for sense gratification. Sex should be restricted to once a month and only for the propagation of children. Hayagriva, who was seated just to Swamiji's left, beside the large dangling symbol, spoke out suddenly, only once a month, and with a touch of facetious humor, he added loudly, facetious, facetious humor, he added loudly, better to forget the whole thing. Yes, that's it. Very good boy, Swamiji laughed. And others joined him. It is best not to think of it. Best just to chant Hare Krishna. And he held up his hands as if he were chanting and a strand of beads. That way we will be saved from so much botheration. Sex is like the itching sensation, that's all. And as when we scratch, it gets worse. So we should tolerate the itching and ask Krishna to help us. It is not easy. Sex is the highest pleasure in the material world, and it is also the greatest bondage. I'll complete this complete scenario. But Steve Goldsmith was shaking his head. Prabhupada looked at him, smiling. There is still a problem. It's just that, well, it's been proved dangerous to repress the sex drive. There is a theory that we have wars because people are eating meat. Prabhupada interrupted. As long as people eat meat, there will be war. And if a man eats meat, he will be sure to have illicit sex also. Steve Goldsmith was an influential friend and supporter of ISKCON, but Prabhupada would not change the philosophy of Krishna consciousness to please the Americans. Very good. Yeah, now over to you, devotees. We'll continue. Rashmi Mataji, Vani Mataji, please be ready. Oh, stop sharing. Huh? Rashmi Mataji, Hare Krishna, please continue.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Please continue.
Judson Hall, the West 57th Street, cost $200 to rent for one night. Raya Rama thought it was time Swamiji tried reaching some of the more sophisticated New Yorkers. And since Judson Hall was near Carnegie Hall and sometimes had interesting concert and lectures, he thought it would be a good place to start. Swamiji agreed to the idea, and Raya Rama printed an announcement, which he distributed in the Midtown bookstores. On the night of the event, the devotees paraded through the Midtown entertainment areas, beating a bass drum and handing out leaflets. Then they returned to Judson Hall for the program. Only 7 people attended. The devotee felt terrible. They had misled Swamiji and spent the equivalent of a month's rent. We can cancel the program if you like, Swamiji, Raya Rama said. But Prabhupada replied, no, let us chant and speak. So the devotee took the stage and chanted with Swamiji and danced, and then sat beside him as he lectured, his voice echoing through the empty hall. Afterward, Swamiji called for question, and a young man, about 15 vacant rows back, asked whether he was correct in understanding that the Swami's philosophy was primarily for reforming destitute young people. No, Prabhupada replied. Everyone in this material world is lost and destitute, even the so-called successful person, because everyone has forgotten Krishna. After the program, Swamiji sat in a chair by the exit as the few members of the audience were leaving. A respectable-looking couple introduced themselves, and Swamiji sat up very straight with a folded palm and smiled. Brahmananda's mother was present, and Swamiji was very cordial towards her. But in general, the devotees were depressed at the small turnout. I am sorry, Swamiji. We invited you here and almost no one came. Rai Rama apologized. But Prabhupada raised his eyebrows and said, no one. You did not see Narada? You did not see Lord Brahma? When there is chanting of Hare Krishna, even the demigod come to participate.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Vani Mataji,
Prabhuji.
please read.
Okay. Back at the temple, Prabhupada chided Raya Rama. I told you we should have charged money. When something is free, people think it is worthless. but just charge $3 or $5 and people will think, oh, you are offering some very valuable thing. In Bengal, there is a story of a man who went house to house offering free mangoes, and no one would take his mangoes because everyone thought, oh, why is he giving away these mangoes? There must be something wrong with them. So he charged 3 rupees, and then they thought, these look good, these look like good mangoes. The price is only 3 rupees. All right. So when people see that something is free, they think it is worthless. Charge them some money and they will think it is very nice. Burton Green was a musician, fond of Swami and fond of hanging on the inyards of the piano in the temple during Kirtana. Burton Green. We had a really explosive thing to break out of, which this capitalistic, materialistic egg sitting on us. So there was so much curiosity in the music to break out of. But spinning out like that, you could have a nervous breakdown. So it was great to go to Swami's and chant in his small storefront on 2nd Avenue. The streets were full of Maya and perversion, and his was a place to really mellow out. It was great to chant there, to balance my life. It was great to sit and have prasadam with the Swami and get some real authentic Indian cooking and chapatis and talk about things, especially when I had very little money in my pocket. It was always nice to go. When Burton asked Prabhupada to attend his piano recital in Town Hall Center, Prabhupada agreed.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you.
Yeah, Deepa Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, and Pranam.
Yeah, please. Start.
Brahmananda, about 7 or 8 of us in our sneakers and jeans had ridden on the subway with Swamiji to Town Hall. We went in and took our seats, and the concert began. Burton Green came out, opened the piano top, took a hammer, and began wildly hitting on the strings inside the piano. And it went on for an hour and a half. We were all sitting there with Swamiji, and we all began chanting on our beads. There were only about 24 people in the whole theatre. Then the intermission came, and Swamiji wanted to go to the toilet room, and I went along and helped him, turning on the water in the sink, getting a paper towel for him. Doing these little services for Swamiji seemed like the perfection of my life. There was something so great about him that just doing those things was my perfection. And I felt like I was protecting him, like I was his personal bodyguard. Coming up on the subway, I had shown him how the subway worked and answered his questions. It all seemed very intimate. Anyway, we went back upstairs to our seats, and Burton Green came right up to Swamiji saying, Swamiji, are you happy? Are you comfortable? Do you like it? And Swamiji was very polite and said yes. Then Burton said, now the second part is coming. I interrupted and tried to say that Swamiji is very tired and he takes rest at 10. It was already after 10. So I said we had to go back, but he pressed Swamiji to stay for the second half. And so we had to stay. Then the poets came out and recited poetry. We were there until 11:30, and when then we had to ride back on the subway. But a few weeks later, I learned that Prabhupada had another reason for going to Town Hall. He was thinking of renting it for a temple, and he wanted to see it.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Subway means here. Subway means metro. Mana bhashalo, mana Hyderabad, India bhashalo. Metro trains. Subway. Haribol. Who else? Yeah, Lavanya, want to read? Raju Prabhu. మీరు ఒకసారి చదవండి, చదివిన తర్వాత నేను ఇస్తాను. రాజు ప్రభు. ఓకే, రైట్. ఓకే, go ahead, Lavanya.
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
You joined in laptop, no? Correct?
Actually, laptop నిన్న kids dance practice చేసిండ్రు కనబడట్లేదు. So I'm joining from phone.
వేరే పెద్దది ఉంది కదా, వైట్ది.
చార్జర్ చూడాలి అది మరి.
ఓకే, కంటిన్యూ. రీడ్.
ఇప్పుడు ఒక రౌండ్ అయిపోయాక ఇట్లా భక్తి శాస్త్రి శ్లోకాస్ కదా ప్రాక్టీస్ చేసేది. సో ఒక శ్లోకం we can read from phone.
సరే, నువ్వు అవి we'll talk anyway. I'll spend time, don't worry today. Go ahead.
Yeah. The Gate Theatre was a small auditorium on 2nd Avenue, about 10 blocks north of the storefront, Saswarupa Das Goswami said. We rented the Gate Theatre for one night. It was a dark place, painted all black. The theatre was almost empty. We had an easel on stage with a painting of Panchatattva. Swamiji spoke, and his talk became very technical. Pointing and referring back to the painting, he described each member of the Panchatattva. He first explained that Lord Chaitanya is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, appearing as a pure devotee. Lord Nityananda, to the right of the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is his first expansion, and to the right of the Lord Nityananda is Advaita Acharya, who is the incarnation of the Supreme Lord. To the left of Lord Chaitanya, he said he is Gadadhara, the internal energy of and Srivasa is the perfect devotee. During the talk, I was thinking that this was maybe too elevated for the audience, but I was sitting close beside Swamiji, and like the other devotees, I was really enjoying being with him. After the gate engagement, Swamiji had and his disciples agreed that it was a waste of time trying to rent theatres. It was better to go to the Tompkins Square Park. That was the best place for attracting people, and it didn't cost anything. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Yeah. And hearing Margada, so I'll read again. Can you go and try to search, please? No way, Lavanya.
Yes, sir.
Please go and search for a big laptop as well as small laptop. రెండు ల్యాప్టాప్లు కూడా కొంచెం ఫ్రంట్ రూమ్లో పెట్టండి ఓకే ఎప్పుడైనా హ్యాండీ ఉంచుకోండి ప్లీజ్ It was 11 p.m. and only one light was on in Swamiji's apartment in the kitchenette. Swamiji was staying up teaching Kirtanananda and Brahmananda how to cook because the next day, Sunday, they would be holding a feast for the public. Kirtanananda had suggested it to be advertised as a love feast, and Swamiji had adopted the name Sunday Love Feast. That's why we call Sunday Love Feast. So this first wordings given by one of the Prabhupada foremost and initial disciple, Kirtanananda Swami Maharaj. He is no more, he left his body. Although some thought it sounded strange at first to hear him say love feast, the devotees had put up posters around the neighborhood and had made a sign for the window of the storefront, and Swamiji had said he would cook enough for at least 50 people. He said the love feast should become an important part of ISKCON. As he had explained many times, food offered to Krishna becomes spiritual, and whoever eats the prasadam receives great spiritual benefit. Prasadam meant in mercy. His two helpers stood respectfully beside him, sometimes stepping back out of his way as he moved, and sometimes looking over his shoulder as he mixed spices or set a pan over the flame or called for another ingredient. He was stirring a big pot of sweet rice with a wooden spoon. It had to be stirred constantly and slowly adding milk. If the sweet rice burned, it would be ruined, he said, and he handed the spoon to Kirtanananda. He next showed them how to make ghee by heating butter in a wok and separating the milk solids from the butter fat. And he simultaneously taught them how to make apple chutney. ఎంత పర్సనల్ కేర్, పర్సనల్ ఇన్స్ట్రక్షన్, పర్సనల్ అసోసియేషన్. ఇప్పుడు మనం తినే ప్రసాదాలన్నీ కూడా దట్స్ వేర్ శిల ప్రభుపాద స్టార్టెడ్. స్వీట్ రైస్, హల్వా, కిచిడి, gulab jamun. He has feeded to his disciples, and disciples carried over through many decades, and we are the mercy recipients of that Krishna Prasadam. Prabhupada was silent as he cooked, but when Brahmananda asked him how he had learned so much about cooking, Prabhupada said that he had learned by watching his mother. He laughed and said it had not been like it is in the West, where you take a lump of flesh from your refrigerator, throw it in a pan, boil it, sprinkle it with salt, and then eat like an animal. And in Korea, he said, they eat dogs, but human beings should eat grains, fruits, vegetables and milk. And the cow especially should not be killed. While Brahmananda cut the apples for the chutney and put them in a pot for steaming, and Kirtananda stirred the sweet rice. Swamiji prepared masala, the basic mixture of spices, which he would soon add to the steaming apples. The familiar smell of red pepper and cumin seeds entered their nostrils sharply as the masala crackled, crackled and smoked in the hot ghee in the tiny frying pan, with three separate operations going at once: sweet rice, steaming apples, and masala. Prabhupada cautioned Kirtanananda to stir the sweet rice steadily and scrape the bottom of the pot. బాటానికి అంట కట్టుకోకుండా నల్లగా కాకుండా ఆల్వేస్ స్టిర్ చేయమని చెప్పి ఇన్స్ట్రక్షన్. And he took the spoon for a moment from Kirtananda's hand and demonstrated how to stir it properly. Sweet rice, chutney, and certain other dishes would be made in advance of the feast. He explained, but many things would have to be done in the next morning. Haribol. Next. Rashmi Mata again, please continue.
Yes, Prabhupada rose early. Despite having kept late hours the night before and after the morning class, he was back in the kitchen. Now, half a dozen disciples sat in his front room making dough for puris and samosas. He had shown them how to make the dough, and Umapati had kneaded for a while by pounding the soft dough with his fist. But Brahmananda was better at it, shocking the weight of his wrestler's body onto the large lump of dough. As Swamiji entered the room to examine the quality of the puris, his disciple looked up at him respectfully. They were always serious when he was present. He picked up a puri and examined it. It is not too standard, he said, but it will have to do. Then Amit crumpled rejects and oddly shaped pieces of dough. He squatted down beside his helpers who were trying as best they could, though making a mess. He took a small ball of dough, pressed it flat with his finger, and then deftly rolled it out until it curled around the wooden pin and then fell off. A perfectly round puri. He held it up, displaying a translucent, thin but not too thin patty of dough. Make them like this, he said. But hurry. On discovering that the dough was too stiff, Swamiji added a little ghee and then a little milk and kneaded the dough to a softer texture. Everything should be just right, he said, and his disciple took to their manual task with a concentrated, concentrated earnestness. Who among them had ever heard of this thing before? Puris and samosas. It was all new, and the challenge is something very important. It was a part of devotional service.
Haribol.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Mataji. Vani Mataji.
Prabhuji. Yeah.
Read.
Yes. Swamiji did much of the cooking as he simultaneously supervised his helpers. He was always near, walking barefoot back to the kitchen, then to the front room, then to his own room in the rear. And even when he went to his back room, his disciples could see him through the window in the wall. Swamiji saw each of the nearby 12 dishes, though its final stages, and his disciples carried them into the front room in pots one by one and placed them before the picture of Lord Chaitanya. There was halwa, dal, 2 sabjis, fancy rice, puri, samosa, sweet rice, apple chutney, and gulab jamuns or sweet balls, ISKCON bullets. Prabhupada had personally spent so much time slowly deep frying the sweet balls on low heat until they had turned golden brown and full. Then one by one he had lifted them out of the ghee with a slotted spoon and put them to soak in sugar syrup. He recognized that these golden ghee-fried milk balls soaked with sugar water were his disciples' favorite prasadam treat. He called them ISKCON bullets because they were weapons in the war against Maya. He even allowed that a jar of ISKCON bullets floating in their syrup be always on hand in the front room, where his disciples could take them without asking permission and without observing any regulated hours. They could take as many as they liked. Kirtananda bought in the samosa filling, which he had prepared from spinach and green peas cooked to the paste and which the Swami had heavily spiced. Stuffing the samosas was an art, and Swamiji showed them how to do it. He took a semicircle of dough, shaped it into a cone, stuffed it with a spoonful of filling, and then folded the top over and sealed it, a samosa, ready for the hot ghee. Should I continue, Prabhuji?
Yeah. Continue.
Achitananda carried the imperfectly shaped puris into the kitchen where he and Kirtanananda deep fried them 2 at a time. If the temperature of the ghee, the consistency of the dough, and the size, shape, and thickness of the puris were all just right, the puris would cook in only a few seconds, rising to the surface of the ghee, where they would inflate into they would inflate like little balloons. The cooks then stood them on edge in a cardboard box to drain off the excess ghee. As they completed the last preparations for the feast, Swamiji's disciples washed the stiff dough from their hands and went down to the storefront, where they set out the straw mats and awaited the guests and the feast. Upstairs, Swamiji and a couple of his cooks offered all the preparations to Lord Chaitanya, reciting the Parampara prayer.
Very well. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhu.
So he personally trained his disciples how to cook different menu, Sunday feast, Sunday love feast, samosas, sweet rice, ISKCON bullets. What else we are reading? Puri. This is what Srila Prabhupada is all about. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So we'll continue. Who is there? Deepa Mother, please continue. Next, Lavanya, be ready.
Yeah. As they completed the last preparations for the feast, Swamiji's disciples washed the stiff dough from their hands and went down to the storefront, where they set out the straw mats and awaited the guests and the feast. Upstairs, Swamiji and a couple of his cooks offered all the preparations to Lord Chaitanya, reciting the Parampara prayer. The first few love feasts were not very well attended, but the devotees were so enthusiastic about the feast prasadam that they showed no disappointment over the scarcity of guests. They were prepared to eat everything. Satswarupa. There was something called Brahmana spaghetti, which was rice flour noodles cooked in ghee and soaked in sugar water. And there was halwa, pushpanna, rice with fried cheese balls, samosas, split moong beans fried into crunchy pellets and mixed with salt and spices, puris, gulab jamuns, and everything was succulent. That was the word Hayagriva used. Yes, he would say, expressing it waggishly. Everything was very succulent. Eating the feast was an intense experience. We were supposed to be subduing our senses all week, following strict regulations, controlling the tongue. And the feast was a kind of reward. Swamiji and Krishna were giving us a taste of full spiritual ecstasy, even though we were still beginners and still in the material world. Before taking my plate full, I would pray, please let me remain in Krishna consciousness because it is so nice and I am so fallen. Let me serve Swamiji and let me now enjoy this feast in transcendental bliss. And I would begin eating, going from one taste sensation to another. The good rice, the favorite vegetables, the bread, and saving the gulab jamun for last, thinking I can have seconds. And if I like thirds, we would keep our eyes on the big pots, confident that there was much as we wanted. It was a time of rededication. We all enjoyed with completely open relish and sense gratification. Eating was very important. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Lavanya, continue.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Gradually, attendance picked up. The feasts were free and they were reputed to be delicious. Mostly local hippies came, but occasionally a higher class of experimenting New Yorkers or even the parents of one of the devotees would come. When the small temple was filled, guests would sit in the courtyard. They would take their prasadam laden paper plates and their wooden spoons into the backyard garden and sit beneath the fire escape or at the picnic table or anywhere. And after eating, they would go back into the storefront for more. Devotees were stationed behind the pots of prasadam, and the guests would come by for seconds. The other tenants were not happy about seeing the courtyard full of festive guests, and the devotees tried to pacify them by bringing the plates of prasadam. Although Swamiji would not go down to the temple, he would take a plate in his room and hear with pleasure about the success of his new program. One time, the devotees were eating so ravenously that they threatened to eat everything available before the guests had all been served. And Kirtanananda had to admonish them for their selfish attitude. Gradually, they were understanding that the Sunday feast was not just for their fun and pleasure, but to bring people to Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna.
Hari Om Jai. Somebody join. Madhavi Mata, Hare Krishna. Please continue.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji Dandavatna.
Yeah, Dandavat Pranam Madhavi. Please read.
Yeah. Prabhupada had begun Back to Godhead magazine in India, although he had been writing articles since the 1930s. It was in 1944 in Calcutta that he had single-handedly begun the magazine in response to his spiritual master's request that he preach Krishna consciousness in English. It had been with great difficulty that through his pharmaceutical business, he had managed to gather the 400 rupees a month for printing. And he had single-handedly written, edited, published, financed and distributed each issue. In those early years, Back to Godhead had been Prabhupada's major literary work and preaching mission. He had envisioned widespread distribution of the magazine, and he had thought of plans for spreading the message of Lord Chaitanya all over the world. He had drawn up a list of major countries and the number of copies of Back to Godhead he wanted to send to each. He sought donations to finance this project, but help was scarce. Then in 1959, he had turned his energies toward writing and publishing the Srimad Bhagavatam. But now he wanted to revive Back to Godhead, and this time it would not be done single-handedly. This time he would give the responsibility to his disciples.
Continue, Mata.
Should I continue, Prabhuji? Yeah.
Yeah, continue.
Greg Sharp, now Gargamuni, since his recent initiation, found a press. A country club in Queens was trying to sell its small A.B. Dick press. Prabhupada was interested, and he rode out to Queens in a borrowed van with Gargamuni and Chitananda to see the machine. It was old but in good condition. The manager of the country club wanted $250 for it. Prabhupada looked over the machine carefully and talked to the manager, telling him of his spiritual mission. The manager mentioned a second press he had on hand and explained that that machine was actually of any use to him. So Prabhupada said he would pay $250 for both machines. The country club did not really need them, and besides, the manager should help out since Prabhupada had an important spiritual message to print for the benefit of all humanity. The man agreed. Prabhupada had Gargamuni and Kirtananda load both machines into the van, and ISKCON had its printing press.
Very well. Thank you, Mata.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. Somebody join now. 9th person. Chandravel Prabhu, please read.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada gave the editorship of Back to God.
This is Prabhupada Lilamrita, Prabhu.
Oh,
Of course.
Hare Krishna.
Purport by Satsarudas Maharaj. Anyway, yeah.
Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada gave over the editorship of Back to Godhead magazine to Haigreva and Raya Rama. For so many years, he had taken Back to Godhead as his personal service to his spiritual master. But now he would let young men like Hayagreva, the college English teacher, and Raya Rama, the professional writer, take up Back to Godhead magazine as their service to their spiritual master. In a short time, Hayagreva and Raya Rama had compiled the first issue and were ready to print. It was an off night, no public kirtana and lecture, and Swamiji was up in his room working on his translation of Srimad Bhagavatam. Downstairs, the printing of the first issue had been going on for hours. Raya Rama had typed the stencils, and during the printing, he had stood nervously over the machine, examining the printing quality of each page, stroking his beard, and murmuring, "Hmm." Now it was time to collate and staple each magazine. The stencils had lasted for 100 copies, and 100 copies of each of the 28 pages, and the front and back covers were now lined up along two of the unvarnished benches Raphael had made that summer. A few devotees collated and stapled the magazine in an assembly line, walking along the stacks of pages, taking one page under another until they reached the end of the bench, and gave the assembled stack of pages to Gargamuni, who stood brushing his long hair out of his eyes, stapling each magazine with the stapler and staples Brahmananda had brought from his Board of Education office. Even Hayagreva, who usually did not volunteer for menial duties, was there walking down the line collating. Shall I continue, Prabhuji?
Yeah, go chadan. Paragraph and we can stop.
Suddenly, the side door opened, and to their surprise, they saw Swamiji looking into them, looking in at them. Then he opened the door wide and entered the room. He had never come down like this on an off night before. They felt an unexpected flush of emotion and love for him, and they dropped down on their knees, bowing their heads to the floor. No, he said, raising his hand to stop them as some were still bowing and others already rising to their feet. Continue what you are doing. When they stood up and saw him standing with them, they weren't sure what to do. But obviously, he had come down to see them, producing his Back to Godhead magazine, so they continue working silently and efficiently. Prabhupada walked down the row of pages, his hand and wrist extending gracefully from the folds of his shawl as he touched a stack of pages and then a finished magazine, ISKCON Press. He said, Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Thank you very much, devotees. We'll stop here. We'll continue from this paragraph tomorrow. So I'm opening the Bhakti Shastri slokas. Let us recite. Okay. So I have this one. So ఎన్ని శ్లోకాలు చేశారు మాధవి చంద్రవేల్ ప్రభు?
15.15 అయిపోయింది. సో
2 చేసినట్టు 2 శ్లోకాస్ ఉంటాయి రైట్ మాతాజీ?
15.15 అయితే చేసాం లాస్ట్ లో. కంప్లీట్ ఎన్ని శ్లోకాలు ఉన్నాయో చూడండి ఒకసారి.
13:22 అయిందా? చేసిండ్రా?
అయిపోయింది. ప్రకృతి 23 అయిపోయింది. 15.1 ఇది కూడా అయిపోయింది. మాంసారేణ అయిపోయింది.
మమాయి
వంశం అయిపోయింది.
ఎప్పుడైపోయింది?
సర్వస్య చాహం ఇది అయిపోయింది. యువర్ యాబ్సెంట్ ప్రభుజీ. బ్రహ్మభూత ప్రసన్నాత్మ ఇది చేయాలి.
బ్రహ్మభూత ప్రసన్నాత్మ ఉంది. భక్త్యామం అభిజానాతి ఉంది. అనదర్ 18th chapter మన్మనాభవ అండ్ 1866 సర్వధర్మాన్ పరిత్యజ్య. యా, అందరం చేద్దాం ఇది ఈరోజు. ఈ 2 శ్లోకాలు చేద్దాం. ఓకే. 1854 and 55. We will wrap up by 9:15 max. Okay, 1855. Please repeat after me. Brahmabhuta prasannatma nasochati na kankshati samasarveshu bhuteshu Madbhaktim labhate param.
Madbhaktim
Madbhaktim
labhate
labhate
param.
param.
Two lines together. Brahma bhuta prasannatma na sochati na kankshati.
Brahma Bhuta
Brahmabhuta
Prasannatma
Prasannatma
Nasochati Nakamshati.
Nasojati Kamshati.
Samas sarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktim labhate param.
Samasarveshu
Sarveshu
Bhuteshu
Bhuteshu
Madhvakti Labhate Param.
Madhvakti Labhate Param.
Yeah, all four lines together. Brahma bhuta prasannatma na sochati na kankshati. Samas sarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktim labhate param.
Brahma Bhuta
Brahmabhuta
Prasannatma
Prasannatma
Nakamshati.
Nasojati Kamshati.
Samasarveshu
Samasarveshu
Bhuteshu
Bhuteshu
Madhvakti
Madhvakti
Labhate
Labhate
Param.
Param.
Please repeat after one more time, four lines. Then individual practice. Brahma bhuta prasannatma na sochati na kankshati samas sarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktim labhate param.
Brahma Bhuta
Brahmabhuta
Prasannatma Nakamshati.
Nasochati Nakamshati
Samasarveshu Bhuteshu
Sarveshu
Madhvakti
Bhuteshu
Labhate
Madhvakti
Param.
Labhate Param.
Vidhar Madhavi Mataji Chandravel Prabhu with translation, please recite.
Okay, Prabhu. Brahmabhuta prasannatma na sochati na kanshati samasarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktim labhate param. Translation: One who is thus transcendently situated at once realizes the supreme Brahman and become fully joyful. He never laments or desires to have anything. He is equally disposed toward every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Madhavi Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Bhagavad Gita 18.54. Brahmabhuta prasannatma na sochati na kankshati sama sarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktim labhate param. Translation: One who is thus transcendently situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments or desires to have anything. He is equally disposed toward every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, some important words to them. So basically, Brahma Bhuta. Brahma Bhuta, being one with the Absolute. Prasannatma, fully joyful. Na sochati, na kankshati. Never laments and never desires. Socha means lamentation. Kanksha means desires. Socha and Kanksha. These two, the same, the Socha for whatever we lost. And Kanksha means desire. Desire for what we don't have. I want to have. If it is not fulfilled, Sochati, lamentation. Sama Sarveshu, equally disposed to all. Sama Sarveshu, equally disposed to all. Bhuteshu, living entities. Madbhakti, my devotion service. Labhate Param. Labhate Param, gains transcendental. One who is thus transcendentally situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments or desires to have anything. So Brahmabhuta stage under this. In the preaching, Srila Prabhupada also said, Brahmabhuta, in order to achieve Brahmabhuta stage, is very difficult actually. Material world is created for to have something to desire, either sense gratification or whatever. Is equally disposed toward every living entity. When we have that kind of mindset, Brahmabhuta, equipoised mind. Equipoised mind for what? Na sochati, na kankshati. And is equally disposed toward every living entity. In that state, he attends pure devotional service unto me. See, problem is chanting is, of course, chanting is a beginning, right? So the beginning of the process. So why we are not getting taste? We are not properly desired. I wanted to have a taste. That is a good desire. We have to have desire. Spiritual desires we can have for our purification and for our enlightenment or for our advancing Krishna consciousness. The desires, see why we are not chanting, because why we are not getting taste in chanting, because we are not properly desired. That is what what we have to desire then. Desire. So that desire is there. Of course, we wanted to have that kind of desire. Sikshastakam prayer, third one. What is that? Third one, recite, Lavanya. Third one, what is that? Trinadapi, right? Recite.
Trinadapi sunicena tarorapi sahishthunan amanina manatena kirtaniya sadahare. You have to chant the mantra without expecting any respect.
Respect from anybody, and in a humble state of mind. How to develop that humble state of mind? Tree, I give an example. A blade of grass is an example. Toleration, tolerant, and so see,
Humble.
when a person gets this stage, Brahmabhuta stage, so he will be in that situation, you know. Na sochati na kankshati. See, everything using for Krishna service, the desire for developing Krishna consciousness is very good. Desiring for sense gratification is not good. So Brahmabhuta stage is very difficult to achieve, but with Krishna's mercy, it will be done. And that means, there is frequently Prabhupada use attach and detach these words. There is beautiful verse from Nectar of Devotion also. Anasaktasya vishaya yatartham upayonjata nirbandhe Krishna sambandhe yuktam vairagyam uchyate. So if we develop that consciousness, this will go away. Na sochati na kankshati. Anasaktasya vishaya yatartham upayonjata nirbandhe Krishna sambandhe. Everything in using in Krishna's service. That is for our upliftment. So next verse also we will do, and then over to all the devotees to do sloka practice. These two devotees, let them practice. This is 18.55. This is a very beautiful verse. Prabhupada also very, very frequently quotes, because when a person touches Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita as it is, if he has an open mind, he definitely become a nice devotee. And Prabhupada frequently good. Bhaktyamam abhijanati. Through devotional service only we get to know Krishna. A very beautiful verse. Please repeat after me. 1 line, 2 lines, and 4 lines together. Bhaktyamam abhijanati.
Bhaktyamam
Bhaktyamabhijanati
Yavan yaschasmi tatvatah.
yavan
yavan
yasyasmi
yasyasmi
tatvatah
tatvatah
Tato mam tatvatu jnatva.
tato mam
tato mam
tatvatah
tatvatah
Vishate tadanantaram.
vishate
Anantaram.
tadanantaram.
Now 2 lines together. Bhaktyamam abhijanati. Yavan yaschasmi tatvatah.
Bhaktyamam
Bhaktyamabhijanati
yavan
yavan
yasyasmi tatvatah
tatvatah
Tato mam tatvatu jnatva vishate tadanantaram.
tato mam
tato mam tattvato
tatvatah
jnatva vishate
tadanantaram.
tadanantaram.
Now 4 lines together. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tatvatah tato mam tattvato jnatva vishate tadanantaram.
Bhaktyamabhijanati
Yavan yasyasmi
yavan
tatvatah
yasyasmi
tato mam
tatvatah tato
tatvatah vishate
mam tattvato
tadanantaram.
jnatva vishate
Yeah, one more time.
tadanantaram.
Yes, Prabhu. One more time. 4 lines together. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tatvatah tato mam tattvato jnatva vishate tadanantaram.
Bhaktyamam
Bhaktyamabhijanati
yavan
yavan
yasyasmi
yasyasmi
tatvatah
tatvatah
tato mam
tato mam tattvato
tatvatah
jnatva
vishate
vishate
tadanantaram.
tadanantaram.
Yeah, now Channel Prabhu Madhai Mataji, please read with Alang translation. Recite and translate.
Hare Krishna. Bhaktyamam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tatvatah
Number
tato
sorry Prabhu. Number కూడా గుర్తుపెట్టుకోవాలి. మీరు ఎగ్జామ్లో ఆయన అడుగుతారు. 1854, 1855 like that. 1855 ఇది.
18. Hare Krishna. Bhagavad Gita 18.55. Bhaktyamam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tatvatah tato mam tattvato jnatva vishate tadanantaram. Translation. One can understand me as I am, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of me, by such devotion, he can never enter into the kingdom of God. He can enter into the kingdom of God.
ఏం ప్రభు, ఈ కెన్ నెవర్ ఎంటర్ ఇన్, దెర్ ఇస్ నో హోప్. ఇక మీరు హోప్ అగేనెస్ట్ hopelessness
No,
చేస్తున్నా.
no. He never entered into the material world అనుకున్నా.
Yeah.
అనుకున్నా.
Yes, cover చేసుకోండి. Yes, very good. He can enter into the kingdom of God. Then that is the only hope now. Right. Mataji, continue.
Yeah. Bhagavad Gita 18.55. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavaneshashmi tatvatah tato mam tatvato bhutva vishate tad anantaram. Translation. One can understand me as I am, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of me, by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Haribol. Now all the devotees, please recite with only sloka, okay? To save time also there. Yeah. Matajis, Rashmi Mataji, Vani Mataji, Deepa Mataji, Lavanya, please do.
Yes, Prabhuji. Chapter 18, Bhagavad Gita 18.54. Brahma bhuta prasannatma na soshati na kankshati sama sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labate param.
Yeah, next also recite.
Yes, Prabhuji. 18.5. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavanyashchasmi tatvatah tato mam tatvato jnantva visate tad anantaram.
Gyatva vishate tad anantaram.
Tato mam tatvato jnatva vishate tad anantaram.
Yeah. Yes, next, Vani Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji. Yeah.
Recite. Already
Yeah.
Bhakti Shastri 1.0 completed.
Yes, Prabhuji. Brahmabhuta prasannatma nasochati na kankshati sama sarveshu bhuteshu madbhakti labate param.
Param anaru Mataji. Param.
Madbhaktim labate param.
Haribol. Next.
Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavanyashchasmi tatvatah tato mam tatvato gyatva vishate tad anantaram.
Yes. Thank you, Mataji.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah, Deepa Mataji. Still there? Hare Krishna. Deepa Mataji. Okay, Lavanya.
Yes,
Continue.
Prabhuji, sorry. Idi.
Yeah. Go
Unmute
ahead.
out and time.
Yeah, change.
ब्रह्मभूत प्रसन्नात्मा न शोचति न काङ्क्षति समः सर्वेषु भूतेषु मद्भक्तिं लभते पराम्.
Yeah. Next, 1855.
भक्त्या मामभिजानाति यावान्यश्चास्मि तत्त्वतः ततो मां तत्त्वतो ज्ञात्वा विशते तद् अनन्तरम्. हरे कृष्ण.
Thank you. Let me check here. Okay, Lavanya, go ahead.
Yeah. 18.55.
54.
54.
Hare Krishna, not able to hear you.
Hare Krishna, is it okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, 18.54. ब्रह्मभूता प्रसन्नात्मा न शोचति न काङ्क्षति समः सर्वेषु भूतेषु मद्भक्तिं लभते पराम्. 18.55. भक्त्या मामभिजानाति यावन्यश्चास्मि तत्त्वतः ततो मां तत्त्वतो ज्ञात्वा विशते तदनन्तरम्.
Yeah. Thank you, devotees. Before concluding, I want to let you know all, our Bhakti Center Gachibowli group wonderfully celebrated yesterday some of the Rath Yatra festivals at different places, different gated communities. Very, very happy to see that these are the communities, right? My Home Avatar, My Home Ankura, Matru Srinagar, Indraprastha, Muppa Indraprastha, Aparna Hill Park, Green Grace, BHL Ramalayam, Aparna Janit, So very nice enthusiasm, and that attracts Srila Prabhupada's mercy. So all are wonderfully doing so good. Please pray for us. We are also celebrating on this upcoming week on Saturday for the first time in Manikonda area. Completely, Lavan is working very hard in the behind the scenes. I'm just giving advices and just speaking what's going on. I'm unfortunate I'm not there, but I'm always prayerful. So please help us. Whoever can be able to come on the 13th July, Saturday. Lavani is gonna share that address, and please help us and let us celebrate one last time. Only this is the instruction given to or order given to Puri Yatra committee, Jagannath Puri Yatra committee has given to ISKCON temples, because the year long they celebrate, different months. As they said that, it has to finish within this 2 weeks time. That is applicable for only in India. In US, we already celebrated in June only in New York City. In some other places, in August, September, US doesn't matter, but only in India, they have given special instructions to ISKCON temples. Please celebrate Jagannath Rath Yatra within this 2 weeks time. So next weekend, upcoming weekend, that Saturday, Sunday, and 14th is our Bhakti Center there, right? It's a big Rath Yatra festival. So 13th we have our last community-based Rath Yatra. So since you are joining this weather reading club, my humble request and personal request, please help Lavanya and let the celebration end with grand way. Nicely, prasadam will be provided for all of your services. Please talk to Lavanya and give your helping hand, okay? This coming Saturday. All the devotees of our congregation also coming. Subbarao Prabhu, Pavan Prabhu. Very amazing to see, this. The idea, Lavanya, the idea బాగుంది, నిన్న చూసా నేను వీడియో. దశావతారము బాగా పాడుతూ ఒక్కొక్కరిని పర్ఫామ్ చేయించడము ఇన్ ఫ్రంట్ ఆఫ్ రథయాత్ర. సో వెరీ నైస్ ఐడియా. యూ కెన్ ఆస్క్ హిమ్ టు బ్రింగ్ దోస్ కిడ్స్ అని మాట్లాడదాం అనుకున్నాను నేను. ఆయన వస్తున్నాడు కదా, ప్రవణ్ ప్రభు వస్తుంది కదా,
వస్తున్నారు ప్రభుజీ వస్తున్నారు.
ఆ ప్రభు వాళ్ళ ఫ్యామిలీతో పాటు ఆ పిల్లలు ఎవరైతే ఉన్నారో విత్ డ్రెస్సింగ్ వీ కెన్ డూ సంథింగ్. అట్లా ఆ కాలనీలో అట్లా మధ్యలో ఒక దగ్గర ఆపి చేయడం వెరీ గుడ్ ఐడియా. ఐ లైక్ ఇట్ యాక్చువల్లీ. సో ఆయనతో మాట్లాడితే నేను కూడా మాట్లాడి. సో ప్లీజ్ కమ్ ఆల్ ఆఫ్ యూ రెగ్యులర్ డివోటీస్.
Please, whoever are free or whoever are available, please come to our Rath Yatra. That is on 13th July, Saturday. Please support us. I'll share the address. It starts from 4 o'clock from the Ramalayam and ends at Ramalayam at 8:30, around 8:30. Okay. We will be distributing prasadam throughout the Rath Yatra, and after we are arranging dinner prasadam for volunteers. Yeah. Please, Matajis and Prabhujis, తప్పకుండా 13 జూలై రోజు మా రథయాత్రకు రాగలరు. We need your support, as this is our first Radhayatra and we don't have that much like crowd, because I am teaching only to kids. So we need all your support to make it successful. Because we don't have much volunteers also, but we are struggling. Yeah.
Krishna will send Amma, don't worry. Okay, right. They are already. They have given green signal to you. They are coming actually. Vani Mata is gonna come. Rashmi Mata is gonna come. Madhavi Mata is gonna come. Chandra Prabhu is also coming. Muralidhar Prabhu at any cost he is gonna come. Raju Prabhu anyway there. These all, how many? 6 devotees already there. Okay.
Thank you. We need your support.
Yes. Haribol devotees, we can wrap up today. We'll continue tomorrow. Okay. Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Ananta koti vaishnav vrinda ki jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitya Gaur Hari Premanande. Hari Bol. Thank you so much. See you all.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare
Hare
Rama, Rama Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Right.